How's it going? James, hello? Helen? Rita? How you guys doing? Rebecca? Hello? Linda? How are you? Lisa, hello? Kevin, how you doing? Okay, guys, let's see. Let's give it a couple more seconds. James, how you doing? Let's, oh, wait a minute. We got a few more rolling in here. Okay, guys. Paula, how you doing? Michael, you made it. Okay, Michael's here. We can get started. Swampwatch, 11/21/19. Internet been off now for over 72 hours. Big stuff going on in Iran. Uh, it's all part of this awakening. People are starting to wake up. People are fed up with governments lying to them, and basically working against their best interest. That's what globalism is. Globalism is for big business. Globalism. I mean, look at the rumors that came out about the whatever the Asian deal was, the trade deal that got signed in Obama's administration. They wouldn't make it public. The politicians couldn't talk about it. The representatives couldn't talk about it, and it was because it was so bad for us, the people. Um, it basically gave the power over to corporations. They were going to let the corporations run the world. Just think how that would have gone. It is, guys. It almost makes you speechless. I mean, that's when you look at how big what was entailed. It's mind-boggling, the scope of this corruption, this manipulation, this infiltration of our governments to what's a government supposed to be about? Just let's start with that thought. governments, especially our government in America, is supposed to do the bidding of the American people and to have our best interest at heart. And unfortunately, for 120 years at least, that hasn't been the case. At least. Probably, it might go 175. There's been forces at work, not just here, but around the world, basically heading towards Agenda 21. You have to give them credit for what they were able to accomplish. They're evil monsters, but they had a long-term plan and they stuck to it. And they were this close because once we went down, that was going to be it. Russia couldn't held up much. In fact, if we went down, Russia would have gone down first. Really, I think that's why Putin and POTUS connects with Putin, because he sees that Putin understands what this globalist agenda is all about, and it's not good if you care about your country and your heritage. There's not many people in the world that wouldn't, if they've got to give it a choice, a government that puts your country first, or a government that basically believes that it's for the greater good, which means you really don't have much of a future, because the greater good, and here's the problem, it's not the greater good, it's what they want us to believe is the greater good, so that we accept our fate, which is basically going from 7.5 billion people in the world to 500 million people in the world over 80 years. 7 billion people wiped off the face of the earth. And you can see the beginnings of their propaganda when they're trying to convince us that eating humans is okay because it might save the planet. When they push these agendas trying to normalize pedophilia, the whole thing about climate change. Listen, it is a total and utter hoax. There's no such thing. Man, with combustion engines, man really, in almost in any instance, does man have the power to change the earth, all because what happens is the earth adapts. And here's the other thing. You have all these people screeching and crying about climate change. When was the last time you heard one of them mention anything about Fukushima? Have you heard a peep in the last few years? The most dangerous nuclear disaster in the world's history, still pouring radioactive waste into the Pacific Ocean. Guys, this was 9 years ago. This was 2011. And you don't hear the media or any of these climatologists pushing this agenda You don't hear a peep out of them. Concern or we need to fix this. No, they don't want to fix that. And they don't care that China or India, the two biggest offenders of what they would purport as global warming, which it really isn't, um, it's all hogwash. It's all a hoax to get us to accept their answers, their solutions, which lead to Agenda 21. That's why we're seeing this awakening, because with President Trump and Hugh, we've got an example of what a leader should be, and we've got the means to communicate around the world with people of like mind. And that's changing the world in ways that not many people even have a clue. I keep saying, I'm going to keep saying over and over again, what's coming is man's greatest age. It's almost, words don't do, at least words that come to me, don't do what's coming justice. I have a hard time expressing how good it's going to be. Heaven on earth. That's what we're headed for. And it's not too far down the road. We should be celebrating in the streets every day. I know we've got some horrible information to disseminate, to spread, because people have to understand we're never going to fix this unless people get the shock of their life and get their wake-up call to what's really going on in the world today. And it all starts with, pretty much starts and ends with the satanic pedophilia. That globalist-driven horror that is responsible for most of the 800,000 kids a year that go missing in America. That number just, I've looked it up 10 times because I have a hard time accepting that number. And it's not that knowing what I know now that I don't believe it. It's that how could that be happening? And the people who are supposed to care about our best interest, politicians and the mainstream media newscasters, why aren't they screaming from the rooftops? Because they know. That's why. Because the CIA runs most of these ops. The CIA is responsible for abducting many of these children. The FBI is responsible for covering many of these abductions up. The CIA has run the mainstream media since after the Second World War. That's why these monsters, these globalists, this deep state has been able to get away with it. Because people, and even I used to think this, hey, if it gets bad, a newscaster, an investigative journalist will do their job and warn us all. Guess what? Those days ended, I think, in the 60s. You might argue into the 70s, but probably the 50s and 60s. I think probably after Edward R. Murrow, pretty much everybody, I think, was compromised to a certain degree. Maybe some of those guys in the 60s didn't know why, but they had to understand that they were being fed propaganda, and so are complicit. And today they are 100% complicit because, listen, no one could watch what's gone on the last 3 years with the Russian collusion fantasy show and now this Ukrainian phone call. It's embarrassing how amateurish it is. Really, both operations. You know, people want to talk about, it was well thought out. Really? I mean, there were so many holes in their operation that they knew all they were doing was buying time. Because you didn't have to look very far, and you knew President Trump was going to look, to know that there's a lot of dirt here. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of treason, more importantly. And then you get into the pedophilia. The videos are going to shock the world. And I believe, based on Q's post, that all of this evidence is going to be made available for people that want to view it. And there are still hardened New York City detectives who are going through therapy still because of what they saw on those videos. The ones that came off of Weiner's laptop. The ones that show Hillary Clinton and Uma Abedin, her longtime aide, in a room with a little girl, 8 years old. They figure. They're guessing, obviously. Strapped down, a guy with a lab coat in a room. They torture, well, first they sexually assault this little girl. Then they torture her to death. The last thing they do before they murder her is this guy in the lab coat takes a scalpel and carves the face off this little 8-year-old girl. Then they take turns dancing around the room, placing this bloody tissue that used to be her face over their face like it's a mask, dancing around the room. This is just one. They've got hundreds of these with people like the Pope, like Prince Andrew. Did you see Prince Andrew's interview? Do you know why he's so rattled? Because he sees what's coming. He sees what's coming. They're all going down. Anyone who's committed treason will be executed. Anyone who's murdered a child will be executed. There are no deals. Q keeps saying it over and over. That's one of the reasons this has taken so long. Because these people know at this point they have, 1% chance just to say nothing's for certain, but it's over. And they know it in their hearts. You can see it on their faces. They don't know what to do. That's the the best thing, the most important thing we could do. Um, and Gary, this is a good example. You should know better than this. People have to hear this story. We have to be able to talk about this stuff. Because if we can't talk about it, it just makes it easier for these people to fall into cognitive dissonance. Because if we're not going to talk about it with those people who don't know, how are they going to get through it? That's the whole point. And that's why I keep telling that story. Because it should make you sick. This is what caused my stroke. Knowing that this is going on every single day until the swamp drains. There are kids going through this. Planting seeds. Listen, and I understand if you guys have heard enough, go watch something else. But you're already awoke. My job is done for you. I'm looking at the people who don't have the luxury, and yes, it is a luxury to know what's going on. When you see what happens to these people who aren't ready, who don't have a clue, who listen to the news every night and think everything's rosy, what's going to happen to them when they wake up one morning and it's on? And then they are flooded with a tsunami of this information. Not only that, but, oh, by the way, you got no job, you got no bank account, no pension. Oh, you got no food in the house and the grocery stores are empty. How do you think that person at that moment is going to react to this information? I see people murdering their families and committing suicide for no reason. We have to talk about this stuff. I will not stop talking about this stuff. This is what I was called to do. This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I am not stopping until it's over. So anybody who's not okay with that, maybe it's time for you to move on. Because I'm looking to the hundreds of millions of other people around the world who don't see this coming. And this is how we plant seeds, by talking about the hard things, the things you're not going to ever hear on Fox, and certainly not going to get a whiff of at CNN or MSNBC or any other clowns on the mainstream media. It has to happen, guys. It's going to happen one way or another. Are we going to be able, and like it or not, this is easing people into it. At some point, you've got to address it. It's a lot better than having it out of the clear blue, going from nothing to 24/7 worldwide on the TV. You can't get away from it. You will not get away from this story when it breaks. There's going to be nowhere in the world you can hide from it. You won't be able to deny it. And it has to be told. And the sooner it's told, the better off we are. So we need to suck it up. If you don't have the stomach for it, it's okay. It's hard. But don't knock the people that are doing the work, that are tackling these hard subjects. Trust me, I get no pleasure from this. My blood pressure's going through the roof right now. Okay. We've been warned about false prophets. I think we're seeing a lot of them expose themselves on the internet right now. You have to be what a lot of these trolls are resorting to is twist. They can't come out because they're angling for people that are conservative. They're trying to put doubt in our minds by the way they attack stories. It'll be, 90% pro-Constitution, pro-Bible, pro-President Trump, and then they'll get their little digs in along the way to maybe, wow, is that really true? To give you second thoughts. They're exploding out there. Beware of the people who are trying to tear down other Christians or patriots who have, by all appearances, done good things, but then things are coming up that aren't substantiated, basically, again, to plant those negative seeds. So maybe you don't listen to that person as much, or don't give them as much credit. As we're planting seeds to wake people up, they're planting sleeping pills. Trying to get people off the track, trying to get them distracted. And it's all they have left, guys. Don't fall into that trap. You hear somebody spouting off, challenge them. Where's the evidence? Show it to me. A lot of them want to run their mouth. Oh, yeah, it's there. But when you press them, they'll usually block you or run. We need to take a stand all the way around. Tomorrow is the anniversary of JFK's assassination. Wouldn't it be fitting if that's when the public takedowns, you know how they have their dates? They like 9/11, they like 3/11, they like their 11s, they like their numbers. Wouldn't it be something if on the day of probably their greatest crime, the anniversary of their greatest crime against this country, because they knew JFK is President Trump 60 years early. Everything that President Trump is going to do, JFK was going to do 60 years ago, and that's why they murdered him. So wouldn't it be something that if on the anniversary of their biggest crime, that we didn't rub that anniversary in their faces and start taking them down? To me, it's of all the dates that we've come across that there may be, and there's indications that something's going to happen, because this thing is built, guys. Since the 4th of July, it's just been building. And we know that a lot happened on the 4th. Look into the earthquakes at China Lake. Those weren't earthquakes. Look at the skies since the 4th of July. It's completely different. That's when they went on the offensive. I think we're close. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, it doesn't make any difference. It's coming. We have to be ready for it. If it doesn't come tomorrow, it just means we have another day to keep doing what we're doing. To keep fighting this fight. To keep pushing. And not backing down. It's time to be bold. If there ever was a time in history that we needed to be bold, this is it. Because this is the ultimate and hopefully final battle between good and evil. I think pretty much the fighting part of it's already done. It's just a matter of now, they've got them in their trap. Now it's a matter of just finishing this thing. The hardest part of this comes dealing with the aftermath of the first ever worldwide economic collapse, the swamp draining, and the satanic pedophilia being exposed, the worldwide satanic pedophilia being exposed. Like I've said, guys, I think it's our greatest danger, and I don't see anybody talking about it. So if nobody else is, we need to talk twice as much, because there's too many people that aren't ready for this. So anything we can do to plant those seeds, now's the time. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah, and you got to be careful of these guys. These trolls are getting really slick. They'll make you think that they are the most godly person in the world and blah, 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 blah. But if you ever see one of them, or anytime, there's no reason for a patriot or Christian to criticize President Trump, especially right now, at this point in history. So we got to keep fighting, guys. Got to keep pushing it. Let's see what we got for questions here. Rebecca, how you doing? So on a personal note, we had a family come in last night. So the night before, the water heater goes out, and the dryer was kind of on its last leg anyway. So we basically washer, dryer, and hot water heater, and they got back from the airport like at I think it was it was 10 o'clock. The guy got finished putting the water heater in at 9:30 last night, and they got here, and it was just a freak deal that it all worked out. Where it's a crazy story. It just shows you how things can go your way sometimes. Anyway, it's all good. Okay, where am I here? Yeah, the Paris Peace Accord. All of these deals are about globalism. The trade deals, this climate control crap, it's all about pushing that globalist agenda. Amanda, how you doing? Well, yeah, South Africa being used as a model. Yeah, that's a good one to point to. My God. There are no good models. Yeah, killing all the the Weiss off. Well, that's for sure what they wanted to use as a model, but not going to happen. Kathleen, how's it going? No, it is not okay to eat other people. It's just it's how crazy. I mean, it's lunacy. Some of the stuff these guys are talking about. How anyone takes them seriously can listen to it with a straight face. It's I mean that this stuff that CNN and MSNBC put these whack jobs on talking about this. How how ignorant do you have to be to fall for this stuff? I just don't see. I don't get it. It's like we we could um, I couldn't write a better script. You know, for them to shoot themselves in the foot, for them to do the worst things they could do. It's like we just have to sit back, like they say, grab the popcorn, because it's just every day there's something new. Netanyahu, you know, what they say, Israel going down. Well, I've there's pretty it's pretty certain that Netanyahu had to be involved, at least in knowing about 9/11. He was too high up, you know, in the Israeli government, and especially in those areas, right? The Mossad. Uh, so I figured this day was coming, but that it's coming the day before the 22nd. Doesn't that seem? Doesn't that seem like another coincidence that maybe shouldn't be happening? I don't think it's a coincidence. I think he's going down, and tomorrow there may be a lot more going down. So, you know, fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, yeah. We're just talking about Netanyahu. Yeah, this is all good, guys. Um, and here's there's just a good example. There's a channel out there, and I'm going to tell you, it's AMTV. Definitely a Mossad troll agency. Um, Basically saying that there's going to be a civil war and they're taking down all of President Trump's allies, talking about Netanyahu. Yeah, right. He's another Alex Jones. I think this guy might be Alex Jones Jr. You know, Mossad funded, a Mossad asset. You can just tell by, you know, always the fear porn. Something else is always, it's horrible. Guys, it's not horrible. They're trying to get you off your game. They're trying to get us where we're not focused on what's important. And what's really important is getting people ready for this. So stick to your guns. Be a lion, not a lamb. Uh, this is the live chat, Jada, for the Watchman page. Live, what is it, 21st? November 21st. So if you have a question, Jada, please ask. Yeah. Well, I just heard that farm foreclosures were up like over 20% this year. So it's the farmers. But listen, it's not easy out there for anybody. We live in the Bay Area in California, and this has been, say what you want about the Bay Area, and trust me, we're leaving California. Um, but the economy here has been probably the strongest in the country, but it's not anymore. Well, it still might be the strongest, but it has taken a big dive here in the last just 3 months. There's a noticeable difference in everything, in traffic in restaurants, traffic in theaters, traffic on the road, in the stores. Uh, it's definitely taken a hit here, which means there can't be much left here, guys. Kathleen bought more Litecoin. Good job. Everything's posted, guys. Coinbase website. We go buy Litecoin. JM Bullion, SD Bullion are posted on the pages. Buy it tonight. Susan, how you doing? Any day now. The takedown is coming, guys. Just stay positive. Don't let the timing throw you off. It's going to happen on God's time. We just need to keep doing our jobs. God is the one that decides when it's going to happen. We need to do our jobs, which is red pilling as many people as we can, getting them prepared, as many as we can before this happens. Let's just worry about what we can control. And that we can control. And setting an example. We can't be whining and crying right now. There's too much good going on. Let's explain it that way. These aren't horrible things coming. These are things that are going to better mankind beyond our wildest dreams. Hang in there. Yeah, no farms, no food. That's all part of it, guys. They want to starve us out. Make us more dependent on them. That's what the FEMA camps were for. They were going to be doing us a favor by feeding us behind barbed wire, right? Locked up. And most people were going to accept it happily because they wouldn't have any other options. That's what being prepped does for you. It gives you and your family options. You're right, Kathleen. This is a story that needs to be told. This is the key, guys. Q talked about the mother of all bombs. This is what he was talking about. Q understands that it's a pedophilia. That's the line that most liberals will not cross, will not support. That's why it's so important that we get that word out there, because it's all going to come around to our benefit in the long run. Yeah, we get ridiculed, we get attacked. So what? That's our job. Those are the consequences. It's the hardest part of the job. We got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. Well, here I'm gonna clarify something here, guys. First of all, I'm not a preacher. Second of all, I'm not a reporter. I'm a watchman. Um, my job is to warn you. I don't want you to believe anything I tell you. You should all be doing your own homework. You should all be digging for the facts yourself. They are out there. Some of this stuff, now, if you want to go to the dark web, you can get facts. I'm not recommending that. I know this stuff is 100% true. That's all that should matter. That this stuff is true and going on every single day. New information. As far as new information goes, I mean, there's a lot coming out every day, and here, I do my best to keep up with everything. Now, the other thing I want to say is, I'm not perfect, obviously. But I'm doing the best job I can with the tools God gave me and the guidance that I'm getting from God. Nothing will bring down the wrath of God faster or more violently than abusing children. That's why I think we got a reprieve when we elected President Trump. And look what President Trump's number one priority has been since day one. Ending human trafficking on a whole, but more specifically, child trafficking. Because he's known this for a long time. He's known about this. That's why he's here. Because he's here to end it. And when the world hears this story, they will unite behind President Trump like you've never seen in the history of the world. They'll understand finally why these people have had him under a constant attack for 3 years. It's not because they don't like his style. It's not because he's not presidential. It's because he's coming after them. Because they're all satanic pedophiles and they don't want to be exposed. And they know the only way to save themselves is to shut him up or murder him. And they've been trying really hard to do both. Our job is to get him more support and to wake up as many people as we can. And as they wake up, they will flock to support him because then they're going to see the big picture. Yeah, and that's the whole point, guys. Knowledge is power. What's going to kill these people is not understanding how this fits in. If you just go to somebody and say, well, yeah, this is the world. It's run by satanic pedophiles. We're all doomed. We're all going to be dead in 50 years. Well, yeah. You're going to need a lot of people committing suicide. The problem is, that's not what we're telling them. That's what they're hearing. There's a big disconnect. And the disconnect is with them. Because you may be really clear about what you're saying, and that's why I repeat these stories over and over again. I want to make sure there's no misunderstanding here. people tend to hear what they want to hear. This is hard information for people to absorb. They're more likely to put their walls up. You'll see that glazed over look. It's like a computer buffering. There's too much coming in. It can't handle it all. Can you imagine the difference between what we're trying to do and bring people on slowly and then getting hammered with all this at once? Instead of spreading it out over a couple of months, it's a couple of days. It's going to overwhelm a lot of people. That's why we do this. So they won't be overwhelmed. And they'll have a place to go to for answers. It's about planting seeds, guys. Okay, let's try and finish this up. Yes, Rebecca's asking about the medical field. Complete change. It's going to be a 180. We got a cure for cancer. That's one of the big things is the technological advances, the medical advances, the cures they've come up with. They say they've had a cure for cancer for 50 years. It's been withheld because there's no money in a cure. Same thing with 0-point energy. We've supposedly got 0-point energy. Within 5 years, I think, there'll be a little box in every house that'll run a house for 20 or 30 years. Power the whole house. So yes, the medical field is going to be completely changed. Vaccines are going to be a thing of the past. That whole story is something else, where people will want to chase these guys down in the streets and hang them when they find out the crap they've been putting in those vaccines and what they're really trying to do. All part of Agenda 21. Carolyn, how you doing? Yeah, so Lindsey Graham saying the report, the Horowitz Pfizer report is going to be out the 9th, and then he's supposed to testify, I guess, on the 11th or 12th. That's the point, Gary. That's called planting seeds. When people, I always expect people aren't going to believe what I'm saying. They're going to think I'm a crackpot, whatever. They're going to remember the conversation. That's what planting seeds is. So, in 3 weeks, when this goes down and they're cowering in their closet, that crazy cowboy told me about this. Let me get a hold of him and see what he has to say. That's what planting seeds is. God damn it. What the hell? Yeah, hey, listen, guys. Nobody understands more than me how people are going to react. I've been doing this for 5 years. Yeah, a lot of people are going to walk away. You can't believe how many people that walked away from me 3 and 4 years ago are now coming back. We're at the time, guys. This is the easy part. I've been telling you, people are more and more receptive to hear this. They're starting to see the stuff about Epstein and Nexium and understand this is maybe a problem that they need to look at closer. Okay, guys. I think this really illustrates how important the message is. And it's got to be positive. I understand it's a fine line here, but we're at the end. We have to push hard now. It's over. It's like I've been telling you guys. As a watchman, I can't be late. If I think something's going to happen, I've got to warn you guys about it. Even if it's a 50-50 chance. Being late as a watchman, might as well not be here. I've got to be early if I'm going to be anything. But it's just too much going on, guys. You guys all see it. There's a frenzy out there around the world. So we're close. Hang in there. Be positive. Tell a positive story. And get people to the Watchman page. It takes the pressure off of you. Put it on me. I'm the crazy guy. That's fine. That's what I'm here for. I'll be the crazy guy. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 1,000% in control. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.